I'm especially giving thanks to the goddess Ixchel and the goddess Ixcacao, as well as the god Itzamna and the god Chacmul, and all of the female deities of the Mayan pantheon and all of the male deities of the Mayan pantheon. I am here to do your work, and I thank you in advance for your continued energetic support. Greetings! I am Crispy. I am a Mayan, Gaian, Pleiadian emissary of light. Een Lak'esh, Alakin. I am another you, you are another me. We are one Godshiousness. And today I'm very excited to give you this information about gender and the Mayan calendar. Now, first of all, in the Mayan culture, for thousands and thousands of years, they have had a category, if you will, which could translate to, in English, being called two spirits. So this video is not really about sexual preference, but for the Maya, the people of the two spirits, they have a physical body of one spirit, and they have a soul that has the other spirit. There's also some playful intermingling, and the main thing is there's no shame or guilt or blame attached to sexual preference whatsoever in the Mayan society. Now, it also should be noted, maybe more importantly, that especially due to the information I was given in this download that came to me in meditation, that every single human being has a divine masculine and divine feminine guide, which is to say we have divine feminine and divine masculine qualities, which are composed of glyphs and tones, just like when we are born, standing on our tone and our glyph. Now, in some regions, they tend to say that all of the glyphs are masculine and all of the tones are feminine. So every single day of the 260 days is an equal blending of masculine and feminine, which is quite amazing when you think of that. Now, I actually don't believe that at all, or I should say, I also believe that certain of the glyphs have more masculine qualities. Certain of the glyphs have more feminine qualities. Also, the tones, here they are, all 13 of them. Certain of them are more female or feminine, and certain of them are more masculine. And that's what I'm going to explain to you here today. Another interesting linguistic effect is that to most of the Maya, the tones, the tonal, even brought to us by Carlos Castaneda from his teacher Don Juan, the tonal is the ego. It's more of the physical building blocks of yourself. And the glyphs are called nahual. They are more of your spirit or your soul. So there's a lot of subtle blending here. And the information that I'm going to give you today is not really taught in any of the books I've read. I haven't seen it on any website, but I've been studying this for 25 years. And I'm using my intuition as well as experience of doing thousands of readings for people. And what I'm going to tell you is, again, basically my opinion based on a heck of a lot of research and experience. So, before we really get into the glyphs and tones, what I want to say is that what we're really talking about is the left brain and the right brain. As we know, the right hand goes to the left brain, which is logic and laws and rules and calculations. And the left hand goes to the right mind, which is artistry and creativity and musical appreciation. And so what we're really talking about here, when we say that every single human being has divine feminine and divine masculine qualities, is we all have a left brain and a right brain. And we are born standing on our corpus callosum, as it were. So in order to be our fully empowered self, we need to embody those qualities from our divine feminine and divine masculine. I think it's also important to recognize that this is not a new concept. And when we look to the wisdom of one of the most famous humans ever to be born into a DNA Earth suit, whose real name, to the best of my knowledge, was Yeshua ben Yosef, he told us, or at least he told Thomas and his other disciples, that when you make the two into one, and when you make the inner as the outer and the upper as the lower, and when you make male and female into a single one, so that the male shall not be only male, and the female shall not be only female, then you will enter the kingdom. I believe that to be the most accurate translation in our current understanding. Again, Yeshua spoke Aramaic, and the first draft of his teachings was written in Greek, apparently, 90 years after he died. So who the heck did the writing, right? Thomas? The Gnostic Gospels is where this came from, the Gnostic Gospels of Thomas. This is just one translation. I added a tiny little bit of my own interpretation. And one more thing I'd like to add from one of the most famous authors on anything to do with Maya and the Pleiades, Ms. Barbara Hand Clow. She had this to say while channeling the entity called Tzolk'in. This is the Tzolk'in or Cholquish calendar in some translations. Other Mayan regions had different words for it. But Barbara Hand Clow channeled what I understand to be the collective consciousness that is the Tzolk'in, or a holy hologram of Godshiousness that created the Cholquish in the 9th dimension, apparently, is what Barbara tells us and what I believe from her book called The Pleiadian Agenda. This Mayan culture I, Tzolk'in, brought to Earth is centered in the woman and the home. The Mayan calendar has the potential to create an illuminated world. It activates its followers in light and in love. The Mayan calendar is also the ideal device to facilitate intuition in the males of the species. Now I would like to talk a little bit about the term female intuition. I believe that is a false terminology. However, I do feel that intuition does come from the left-handed right mind, the open right mind, which all humans have equal access to. I think female intuition should be called human intuition or just simply intuition. We all have access to it. Gentlemen, go get yourselves a tarot deck and get yourselves a pendulum to to start using to develop your intuition. Ladies too, but I do agree that in our current society, it is easier for women to access their intuition because they're not so heavily overloaded on the left brain, which is driving most of our Western culture for thousands and thousands of years to go out and make and do and get money, 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 money. That quest for money and abundance, financial abundance primarily, is purely a right-handed, left brain dominant, exerting, going out and getting and bringing it back home kind of energy, which is not a bad thing at all as long as it's balanced with this nurturing, providing, and loving energy that likes to share. All right? So this is a free of judgment approach. Now, one more quote from Ms. Hand Clow from the same book as she was channeling Tzolk'in. Then, at the 0 point, the year 0, a 9th dimensional human, a fully human Maya, a fully Mayan human with cosmic Christ consciousness named Yeshua ben Yosef, was brought into the planet at Teotihuacan, and his Pleiadian light body, his Ka, was implanted there. The Christed one actually came into each of the 9 dimensions of Earth, and his implantation in Mexico was his 8th dimensional form, his form that works with galactic structures. Just one more thing. This calendar, the Tzolk'in, is galactic. It is perfectly in tune with the Milky Way galaxy and Earth's position in it. As you can see here, stop, screenshot, download, study on your own time. All right, now let's get down to the nitty and the gritty. I'm going to quickly take you through all of the tones, which, by the way, are called tones because they are vibration, they are frequency, they are aspect, they are modifiers of the glyphs. They're not numbers as in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are na 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 na, like that, okay? Now, tone 1 is neutral. Tone 2 is neutral, however, being connected to the sacral chakra and being very focused on intimate relationships, it's slightly more feminine. However, it's neutral. Tone 3, feminine, very feminine. Here are some of the reasons why. To the Maya, tone 3 represents the 3 hearthstones of the kitchen. Now, the Maya have some strict-ish gender roles. Only women do the cooking. And the 3 hearthstones come from the Orion constellation in their oldest myth that we know of, the Popol Vuh. And so there's a strong connection between tone 3 and femininity or womanhood or mothering and the kitchen and food preparation. Tone 4, I feel, is quite masculine. It's got this square energy and the foundations to it, the 4 seasons, the 4 directions, the 4 colors of the Mayan calendar. It's very stable. It's the square. So tone 4, stabilizing, quite masculine. Tone 5, neutral. Tone 6, neutral. Tone 7, neutral. Tone 8, neutral. Tone 9, very feminine. 9 represents the 9 months of gestation. It is the 9 lunar cycles that happen within not only a normal human pregnancy, but the Tzolk'in. This is a female-oriented calendar, 260 days. It is connected to the birth, the cycle of conception into birth. Takes approximately 260 days, and I believe that if we could measure it throughout human history, let's just say 260,000 years, if we could measure it from that length until now, it would average to 260 days. I can guarantee it, pretty much. So tone 9, patient, you have to be patient, is a feminine quality. Tone 10, neutral. Tone 11, neutral. You've got to be very neutral to negotiate your life if you were born standing upon tone 11. Tone 12, the cube. And by this I mean 12 separate beams of quartz crystal perfectly enjoined. To be a cube with an open center is masculine. And tone 13 is neutral. So tone 3 and tone 9, feminine. Tone 4 and tone 12, masculine, as I see it. So again, those tones modify the glyphs. They are an aspect. They are the influence on the glyphs. Now, let's go through the glyphs. First glyph, Imish, sunrise, is, well, here's some key code words. Let's look at them. Primordial ocean, birthing, earth mother, cosmic womb. Yes, you guessed it. The first glyph of the Divine Mayan Tzolk'in calendar is feminine. The second glyph, Ik, is breath. And even though it's very focused on communication and also connected to the moon and even the hummingbird, which I feel is slightly feminine, this glyph is also connected to the Mayan god of wind and storms, sometimes called Hunrakan, from which we get the English word hurricane, and sometimes called Chak. So, second glyph, neutral, balanced. Third glyph, dusk, Akbal, is also neutral and balanced. The fourth glyph, Khan, the seed, is masculine. The seed is like the male seed. Seamen, and not those men of the sea. Now, it is also about planting information. And the main seed to the Maya is corn, which is a very masculine plant. In fact, only men plant and harvest the corn. The exact counterpart, by the way, is cacao, and only women plant and harvest cacao in most traditional Mayan villages. The fifth glyph is Chikchan, the serpent. It is slightly feminine. It is not strictly feminine, but it does include sensuality and body wisdom and the chakras and kundalini and what the Maya call koyopa, which is a energetic flash of wisdom that can come through the body, usually to calendar shaman and healers and the shaman, the jaguar shaman healers. So even though all humans have chakras and kundalini and koyopa, I feel this glyph is slightly feminine. Now again, all of these glyphs are influenced by their tone. So if you have, for example, a tone 4 of the serpent, that's going to balance things out, and we'll talk about another huge factor when I'm done with all of the glyphs. The 6th glyph is Kimi, reincarnation. This glyph is feminine in nature. They are often drawn to being hospice workers, or what we could call a death doula, and that work or career or role I feel is much more feminine. Some of their key code words are serenity, acceptance, humbleness, and forgiveness. The 7th glyph, Manik, is the deer, and you can think of a 12-point buck, and you can think of Bambi, and you can think of Bambi's mother. Some key code words are hand of protection, authority, grace, and divination. So I am here to tell you that Manik is neutral. The 8th glyph, called Lamat, starseed, is, well, let's look at some of the key code words first. Seeds again, fertility, Venus, the rabbit, but it's also rational and a way shower, focused on the harvest and symmetry. So I believe that Lamat is perfectly neutral. The 9th glyph, called Muluk and offering. Let's look at some of the key code words. Water is life. Ceremonial fire. Therefore, offering is neutral. The 10th glyph, Oak, the dog, which also actually means wolf and even raccoon and coyote. So it's not just dog, it's that whole genre or entity that makes up that energetic animal. Let's look at some of the key code words. Love, loyalty, authority, protection, top dog, and politics. So oak is neutral. The 11th glyph, Chuen, the monkey. Some of the key code words: art, creativity, inner child, body wisdom. So I am here to tell you that Chuen is more of a feminine nature. Even those gorillas have more of a feminine quality to them, according to moi. Now, 12th glyph, Ebb, the traveler. Some of the key code words: trailblazer, exploration, navigator, goal-oriented. So I am here to tell you that traveler is slightly more on the masculine side. Now, I do want to mention one other thing. The reason these glyphs have colors, or the meaning of the colors, is the 4 elements, the 4 directions, the 4 seasons, the 4 times of day, and the 4 bodies. So, with regard to the yellow glyphs, this is the thinking body, or the rational body, or the reasoning, the logical, the mental body. So they have a more tendency to be more masculine. The blue glyphs are water, emotions, slightly more feminine oriented. In our current society, which is really still overwhelmingly unbalanced, but again, we all have a left brain and a right mind, and we are here to balance them, as we now know for sure. 13th glyph, Ben, corn. Corn to the Maya, as I already said, very masculine. The pillars of light. These are those plants that grow straight. Corn, cane, reed, bamboo. Yes, you've guessed it, this is a masculine glyph. Here's a couple of the key code words. harvest, which is something that men do, pragmatic, staff of authority, and courage, among many other qualities. These key code words really mean qualities or tendencies. Now, the 14th glyph, Ish, is the jaguar shaman. And despite all of those Hollywood images that were made for the tourist industry, this glyph is very feminine in nature. Here are some of the key code words. Femininity, communion with nature, secret keepers, divination, psychic. So even all of the male jaguar shaman are slightly feminine. Some of them are very feminine, especially the females. But not only. Some of the females are probably quite masculine. Don't forget, a jaguar, either a male or female jaguar, can swim into the water and bite the skull of a caiman and kill it instantly and drag it back a mile or two to its cubs and rip open the belly and feed her babies. The 15th glyph, men. Despite the name men, let's look at some of these key code words for the eagle, which also means really any flighted animal, not penguins. Let's look at some of these key code words. Ambition, soaring, independence, combined with empathy, service, hope, and trust. Therefore, the eagle is neutral, or both genders equally. 16th glyph, Ib, is the wise one. Let's look at some of the glyphs. It is yellow, that's the thinking body. We've got forgiveness, peace walker, advisor, combined with gatekeeper, advocate, and mind over matter. Therefore, I can tell you that Ib is neutral. 17th glyph, called in some regions earth, some areas earthquake, some areas thought. I call it Gaia. Now, before you jump to your images of what Gaia represents, let's look at some of these key code words. Sacred garden, web of life, crystals and caves, combined with intellect, intelligence, stewardship. So I would say that the glyph of Gaia is neutral with a very slight tendency towards the feminine. Depending on which tone modifies it, of course. Next, the 18th glyph, Etznab, called obsidian mirror and obsidian knife. Now, this glyph, just by looking at it, appears to be completely balanced, but let's look at some of these key code words. Precision, eloquence, non-attachment. I feel that it's quite neutral, yes, but leaning more towards the left mind, the logical, the precise. Okay, this is my opinion once again. Most, I think, Mayan people, Mayan calendar shaman would probably not tell you these things. I don't really know. 19th glyph, Kawak, rainstorm. Some of the key code words: nourishment, home and family, cacao ceremony. This glyph is commonly associated with all of the divine feminine roles within Mayan society. This is the most feminine of all 20 glyphs. Leading us to the 20th, Ahau, solar chief, and also called sun goddess. Let's look at some of these key code words before we jump to conclusions. Blowgun hunter, hero, leader, and lord. So, despite being the cumulative amalgamation of all 20 glyphs, I do believe that Ahau is slightly more masculine. Throughout human history, again, let's say 260,000 years, I think probably over 90% of the hunting has been done by men. The blowgun hunter, the mask, is a blowgun hunter from the Mayan creation myth, the Popol Vuh. So this glyph is decidedly more masculine than feminine. But again, depending where your tones are, they have a deep effect as well. Now, getting back to my original download, this is called the Empowerment Circle, and it tells you where your 4 guides are. Your 4 guides are always glyphs and tones, other combinations of these glyphs and tones. Now you know they all have either a fully neutral charge, slightly masculine, slightly feminine, or more masculine charge to them. So, depending on where you're born standing, that is what controls your guides. Right now, I'm just going to tell you 2 simple connections. Tone 3 is directly connected to tone 9 in the following way. If you're born standing upon tone 3, you have tone 9 as your divine feminine guiding tone. And therefore, if you're born standing upon tone 9, you have tone 3 as your divine masculine guiding tone. I'm not making this up, people. Now, what about the 2 masculine tones I've already introduced to you, tone 4 and tone 12? Well, wouldn't you know it? If you're born standing upon tone 4, your future vision guiding tone is 12. And if you're born standing upon tone 12, therefore your past wisdom guide is tone 4. I am not going to go through all 20 of the connections with the glyphs because that would take far too long. If you're really interested, please connect with me and I will do your reading for you and tell you everything that I know. So if you are a person who is interested in balancing your divine feminine and divine masculine, and why would you not be? I can also recommend to you, for example, having on your altar in your home something that represents the divine masculine and something that represents the divine feminine. This is the goddess Ixchel. This is a leaf from a cacao plant. This is the god Itzamna. This is the god Chakmul. When I light the candles, I say I'm lighting this candle to honor the divine masculine in all creation. And then I put it right in front of Itzamna. And I light the candle in front of the goddess Ixchel and Ixcacao. And I say, I am lighting this candle for the divine feminine in all creation. And the last thing I need to tell to you is that the symbol, the Hunabku, represents the divine feminine and divine masculine. The divine masculine is the light that shoots out of the black womb of no thing. They cannot exist without each other. They are fully harmonious, interdependent. It is actually one thing, divided perfectly, harmoniously, and equally into 2 things. This is the Mayan Hunabku, the one and only giver of movement and measure, the great central sun and black hole at the epicenter of the omniverse, the maker and modeler of all things physical and non-physical, heart of earth, heart of sky, heart of humanity, Hunab-ku. Een Lak'esh, Alakim, Namaste.